Jeff again here talking about some of these these quality evaluation topic here. And I want to talk about one that I should actually be up on my pros.com profile or maybe translators.com profile. I had up there my pros. I'm sure I had actually taken the groups from LinkedIn. They'd been back in 2009, 2010. Okay. There were I was on a lot of these LinkedIn groups about machine translation and professional translation, all that. Actually, I've been in other groups before that, but the specific ones I did were in LinkedIn, and in 2009, 2010, I actually took all the threads of discussion where I participated and I copied them into Word documents. And I put them actually up on I copied the Word document and put them actually up on the I put them up on the my LinkedIn profile or my pros.com profile actually. There's really the debates that were happening about what is quality was incredible because the there's such a difference between the I'm going to call them the computer geeks, okay? I'm going to simplify this, okay? And I know that it's dangerous to simplify things, but I'm going to simplify it. The people that are actually doing language translation and language interpretation, the actual production people that are doing this, they have a vision of this, right? Then you have the people that are doing the project management of the language and translation interpretation projects, right? That's the program management, the project management people have a different view. And then people actually doing the quality evaluation within those projects where they're on the second and third level called edit and proof, right? Translate, edit, proof. And so the edit and the proof people are dealing with how do you do with style guides and how you actually check that and how do you evaluate that and what are the criteria for evaluating things, right? Evaluating content and changing it, called and dealing with the red pen syndrome, right? So these are other views. Then you got all the KPI measurement people in the management saying, well, all that kind of stuff, and we want to prove that we did this for like some ISO certification or something, right? So there's that kind of perspective. Then you get the ISO 9000 quality management perspective, which might be how do you determine quality, and do you have any measurements to actually put this in place? And so this is what we're dealing with here. So I'm talking about basically how you put this in place because I'm ISO 9000 auditor, reader, so I've done this. So I actually want to see what the criteria are to do this. I'm defining this as we go, and I'm going to come down to what my thoughts are at the very end of how I do it. But you got all these different views of what quality are, and then you have the software geeks. But you got the software geeks of language technologies, which are looking at, but many of them actually have grown up in this field. This is what they focus on most of their careers. So they've always worked in this career, in this field, which is actually a field that has been haunted by low pricing and commoditization since decades. I mean, Mark Homnat talked about this in 1999, right? 1998, 1999, and the Lisa conference stuff and all that. That this is a commoditized kind of field, and so it's all about commoditization and low pricing. And so this whole field has been low priced forever. So it's not high priced, and so there's this whole thing. Got to bring it down. Pricing has low value. So the whole thing here is trying to understand what are your criteria, and we're going to be doing it. And you got to come from completely different perspectives. And the one thing that you want to do is I want to come back to these LinkedIn threads that were talked about. There were probably 6 or 7 or 8 of these threads. And this is just when statistical machine translation was beginning to get some traction. Okay. Language River had been around. I mean, I had already used statistical machine translation for over a decade. Okay. Over a decade, maybe a dozen years already. Over a dozen years. But statistical stuff, had been actually in the market for maybe 5, 6 years. So there are a few people doing that. But then there's this whole hype about and I have a whole video about the hype of statistical and machine translation, all that. And I think that's a really next one to watch in this series too. because I talked about why that isn't good, the hype. But I want to just summarize here, and I'll put this one after this one here in the list, is you want to make sure that you're not living the hype of statistical machine translation. And you've got to do the evaluation based on that and only based on that, because you have to do statistical. It's not true. Statistical and neural, whatever you want to call these things, it doesn't really matter. It's all big corpus-based stuff, okay? Big corpus-based stuff. It's based on the thing you have to have big corpora. And that's not always true. You don't always have to have big corpora. I think that you need to have the right corpora for what you want to do. And you have to write the right training data to do what you want to do. And you always want to customize it, right? And you want to build as good training and customized data as you want to. It depends on how you do this. And if you're looking for lots of big corpora that's full of lots of crap with lots of spelling mistakes and stuff, then you're going to be dealing with polluted data, right? Then you got to clean all that up. Or you keep all of it. And then you got to deal with how you clean up the crap, okay, right? So this is stuff you got to deal with. And I'm not talking about preferential stuff. I'm talking about crap, okay? I mean, really, just misspelling mistakes all over the place, right? Now, this is where it's important. Like, if you're publishing information, you want to have to be kind of like, you want to have, it's properly spelled stuff, right? I'm not talking speech. I'm not talking about, or just comic books or stuff where you got, you can see these variants. It's where you're publishing content out. And this is really important. That whole inbound and outbound is really important right here on this topic. And when you're publishing websites, you want to make sure that it's pretty good, right? Now, I make a difference between website material and social media. Social media is more of a feed. It's, you can accept to have it. We're doing on Facebook, right? I'm not, when I go to do my website, I'm not publishing my website on the phone, right? I'm not using my phone to do my website, right? I'm using a computer and getting the formatting, right? But on social media, I'm using my phone, right? I mean, I'm on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. I got spelling mistakes in that. It's okay. It's okay to put spelling mistakes. That's acceptable, but not on your website, right? So there's a real difference on this. And it's really important to see the medium and the platform on which you do the content makes a difference. And what you're scraping, the content that you're using to actually fill your databases to train the data, what are the types of the content databases you're using for those? Are they static? Are they dynamic? Are they, user-generated content? What kind of errors can they contain? Is it, fully reviewed and fully viewed stuff that's been really checked? Is it social media content? Is it user-generated content? Because I would expect a lot of spelling mistakes in user-generated content, right? But not in website publication content. In text messages, SMS messages, there's going to be tons of spelling mistakes. And the emojis in there. All emoticons, or what do you call these things? All over the place. This is going to be there in that kind of content, right? Or in like chat messages and stuff. You're going to find a lot more of this stuff, which you won't find them in web content or in books or, kind of published materials, whatever. You're not going to find all this stuff. And it's not been reviewed. Has stuff been peer reviewed or not peer reviewed? This all comes in play. So really, what is the type of content? And not all content needs to be big data. It doesn't need to be huge data. You don't have to have millions and millions of words. You just have to have what's appropriate for what you're trying to do. And here I don't want to go into all the different flavors of this, because I could sit there and talk all day about the flavors of all these things that I've done. I could literally go and talk. I could go on and on and on and on and on. But I just think it's really important to really nail down and target what you're looking at, what you're trying to do, what's your use case, what's your scenario, what's your target audience, what's your approach, and be very clear what in scope is and what out of scope is. Very clear. Then that allows you to build a criteria of what you're going to evaluate on top of it, right? So that's kind of this topic right now in this one. As I begin to kind of bring us to, I'm slowly bringing us to these videos, sorry, about getting down to how do you evaluate this stuff. And it's super interesting. But there's a whole history of doing this in a way that's not always it could be done better. So let's go on to the next video. Here we go.